One of the things that I find that white people are more easily able to say that black people would never say is that their parents were failures. Actually, it's something that is very uncomfortable for black people because the level, I think, of indoctrination of a black child is very different. Black children are taught that honoring their parents means that they have to ignore the flaws of their parents. Honoring their parents and elders is an infallible truth, and that the only way that you're going to live long or go to heaven is by turning a blind eye to shitty adults, right? So no matter what an adult has done to you as a child, and that's probably the reason why a lot of things like sexual abuse or domestic abuse or child abuse in Africa, there's almost no consequence for it, right? Especially under the guise of religion. If you think about it, some of you, and many people, to be honest with you, if the way to look at it is very simple, right? If these people were not your parents and they were somebody else's parents and you were looking from the outside in, would you ask your own children today to emulate them? Would they be your standard bearers for what a successful life looks like? So many of you grew up in a household where your mom was obese, 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 high blood pressure from whenever to wherever. Your parents had 9 of you, 7 of you, 5 of you. They made decisions that they knew that they could never sustain. Their livelihood could not sustain. Many of them were barely educated by choice. So it's not because, and I know they would tell you the story of, oh, things were hard in my time. My father didn't let me go to school. There were no schools around. But half the time, then you ask them and say, but how did your other mates who actually grew up exactly in the same village, exactly the same time as you, how did they get an education? Nobody wants to ask their parents the tough questions. Everybody wants to romanticize a suffering parent, almost like everything in life that happened to them, not because they had any choice in the matter. And so people wake up and say, oh, I turned out all right. I'm successful today, and it must be because my parents must have done something right. Actually, I challenge that thinking. If you look back at it from a purely logical perspective, half of the things that have made you successful today, if you consider yourself successful, are everything that your parents did not do and did not ask you to do. Actually, most of the people that I find are very successful early in life come from irreligious homes, really homes that are not religious at all. Homes that the only rule of God they live by is do not kill. Do you know what I mean? But everything else is fair game. Because they are playing by the rules of the world. They are playing by the rules of life. And actually, if you live in an earth where the systems were set up for people who can steal and who do not have any emotional connection to things, who have no moral standards or values, and you're entering that same world, holding up religious tenets and isolatory tendencies, right? You're not going to fit in. You're not going to fit into the world systems. You're not going to fit into an office space. You're not going to fit into. You find yourself consistently clashing, and you're not going to make it. Most likely, you're not going to make it. None of the strategies that your parents, who who whose only strategy in life was go to church on Sunday, pray to God, and work hard, were the only strategies they taught you. And you actually think that by, and many of us actually thought that by doing those things, it was going to guarantee your success. Go to school, do your homework, graduate, get married, have children, and die. But make sure you go to church. Because those are the only things. If you pray all the time and you go to church, you're going to make it. How many people have made it doing those exact things? How many people have made it doing those exact things, and that's it? Half of the things that have made you successful are things that the world taught you, the things that the streets taught you. How to lie, how to cheat. The streets are the one that taught you that you shouldn't take your thing and share it to the world. That's not what your parents taught you. Your parents taught you that if you have something, that you should be generous and share with your siblings who don't have and the less privileged. That's not what the world is teaching you. That's not how you grow wealth at all. You don't grow wealth by giving out everything that you have to the point you're going to be poor. You're going to be prayerful but poor. The world teaches you that resources are finite, which means that This God will provide thing that they taught you when you were growing up, it's actually not exactly as you think it is. It's not that you can just sit down there and go from 0 to 100 because God is just threw down the manna from heaven. That's not how it's going to work. And sometimes they now say, no, 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 but He'll bless the work of your hands. So any work you do is just going to prosper and flourish. And then you watch your own parents who have worked 35 years for the civil service. What flourish? They're now living hand to mouth. They still don't have pensions that have not been paid for a long time. They're relying on their children being successful to feed them. That's not how white people think. White people look at their parents in the eye and say, you made wrong choices. You had no business having 7 children. You had no business having me as a 7th child. I'm not even being like, oh, if I didn't come out, I've missed anything. No, if I wasn't born, I probably would not know any different. I'd be born to somebody else. And they look at parents in the eye and say, actually, you messed up. You played by a set of rules that were so stupid and so dumb. All you did was pray and think that it was going to make you successful. And don't give me that bullshit about, oh, I'm successful because I've raised successful children. No, actually, I raised myself. Half the things that made me successful, I found out on my own journey. I met bad people. All the friends you said I should not play with, they were the ones that became successful and taught me the tips of success. They taught me strategic thinking. They taught me how to be cutthroat. They taught me how to realize that nobody's going to come and save me. They taught me that if there's only one thing, there's only 10 kobo, right? It's not going to go round. And I have to struggle and compete with everyone else to the best of my ability to get that 10 kobo and not just leave it for someone else or play humble and play nice and hope that, if I leave it for them, God will do. No, 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 no. You didn't teach me that. And I know many of you will say, well, you can't teach children that kind of thing because you want them to be decent people. You want to raise them in a way that, good or bad, they turn out and love themselves and are happy with who they've become, not just what they've achieved. I hear you. But the same you are going around telling all your friends how to be strategic in their investments, how to make money that the way you haven't made. Many of the habits that are keeping you back are habits you inherited from your parents. Many of you come from homes where your parents never played sports. They never took you to the field. I go out today to the park and I see white parents bring their children for sports. Every Saturday, they're not going to any church evangelism. They're not going for any churches, maybe Sunday, and we're done. But life has to happen for the rest of the week. They have music lessons. They have swimming lessons. They take their children. Many of you, even in Nigeria today, who now have children today, are now training them different from what your parents. Why don't you copy what your parents did? If you think your parents were so successful, why don't you just copy what they did? Why don't you treat your wife the way your dad treated your mom? Where your mom could not say anything in that house. Her opinions didn't matter for shit. Your dad was cheating on her, everybody knew. And she couldn't do anything, and she couldn't go anywhere because she had 7 children. And the religious inclination was that as a good woman that she has to consistently prove that she is, she had no right to question your dad or to speak up. Because everybody's going to say, oh my God, how dare you? And now you're going to argue and say, well, it was the time that they lived in. You're making excuses. It's part of glamorization. We like to glamorize our parents. We think that they are a deity that we are not allowed to say anything bad about. And I agree. It's good for you if you feel like it's going to add any value to you to not see your mom as the woman, the girl that she was, who made some of those choices to have 7 children, who even in her own time, there were birth control procedures that she could have used. But no, somebody once went online and said, look, your parents enjoyed a lot of sex. That's why they had 9 of you. It had nothing to do with, oh, there was some strategic thinking behind it. They knew 1 out of 9 of you was going to be rich and take care of them. It was an insurance policy for old age. All that nonsense. We keep giving excuses for the bad decisions our parents made. And at some point, even they are happy that you're doing that. They're happy that you're giving them the pass. You're not calling them out. You're not holding them accountable. Even at your grown age, you would never copy them. You would never train your children the way they trained you. You don't wake up in the car and your child says something and you just backhand the child for no reason, with no explanation of what they've done wrong. You know what I mean? Like, some of the things your parents did to you was just abuse. But many of you, till today, will refuse to let it leave your mouth that your dad was a shitty person. You refuse to accept that him being isolationist, having no friends, not networking, always being in the house, didn't play sports, never connected with you guys, just was doing heavenly race and going to church. That's the only thing he knew to do. That's the only skill he taught you guys, was to pray away the problems, ignoring them. So in the very house that you guys were doing prayer, there's an uncle living with people that was touching the children. There's a neighbor that upstairs that is always trying to do something inappropriate. But your parents are there. Even when you go and tell them, they say, let us pray about it. No action taken. And then you grow up and wonder why you are allowing certain things to pass. You've never engaged the police once in your life. You don't know how to make trouble. You look the other way all the time. Even things that you should actually take up. The justice system exists for a reason. There's the police, there's the courts. There are lawyers. You've never once been able to use it. You don't even have the heart to do it. You don't have the heart to even fight for anything, for something you believe in. You think that walking away from things is a virtue because karma will deal with them and God will come down and deal with them. Meanwhile, 35 years later, no such thing has happened. The bad people have walked away. They've taken your father's land. They couldn't even fight for it. They've taken his things. They've edged him out of business deals. He hasn't networked for shit. He doesn't know how to make a dime. He's been poor all his life. Now he's retired and he's poor and he's waiting for you guys to train your children and take care of him in his old age. His pension isn't shit. All the decisions he could have made differently, he didn't make them. He didn't even ask his friends who are doing well, please, how are you doing well? Let me join you and let me see how to learn how to do it. Your parents were failures. I know you don't want to hear that. You don't want to accept it. It is what it is. Your parents were very likely failures. If they were not, you'll be following their very footsteps now. And you're not. That itself is the logical conclusion that you know that there was something wrong about how they themselves, the decisions they made or how they raised you. That itself is conclusion. And you don't have to agree with me. It's fine. I'm not here to convince you. When you sit down and think about it, there's nothing wrong with holding your parents accountable. She was a young girl, he was a young boy. He did the best he could, I agree. Circumstances were different, I agree. Environment was different, I agree. But some of the choices were theirs. And they have to own it and you have to see it for what it is. Especially when you're grown up yourself. You have to say, look, you could have done this differently. Yeah, you could have done. You didn't have to do that. You were just wilding out. You were with all the money that you made in your youth when you were 35 and you were pick up your car, you were the deputy manager in Peugeot, Nigeria in Jos. But you had 3 girlfriends. You gave every salary you gave it to women. None of them are your wives today. Now you're in old age. You have nothing to show for it. One miserable house you built in 1952 with a 2-bedroom bungalow in the middle of some village bush, and that's all you have to your name today. Even that one self is just God that's holding it for you. You are a failure and you made shitty decisions. I'm not even trying to follow you. But for those of you who actually think your parents are successful and then your own life is mundane, but you keep comforting yourself saying, as far as I'm doing better than my dad, that I'm a success, you're going to die poor. You're going to die an underachiever because you're the worst of the worst because you don't even see that you have a problem. You don't even see the kind of life that you should be living. And if you can't envision yourself beyond where you are, you're not going to get there. What's going to drive you to achieve something that you don't even know you can achieve? Which is why you have to leave home, go outside. You see those people your parents told you not to play with. Go and play with them. Hear their side of the story. Let them tell you why they are the way they are. They've come from different kind of homes. Let them teach you how to be cutthroat. Let them teach you how their own parents made money. Because their parents are teaching them how to make money, how to be gangster, how to be... Do you know what I mean? Go and learn that side of life from them. It just might open your eyes to realize, oh, Mom, my parents don't know everything. Oh, the world will teach me the one that my parents couldn't teach me. And that's usually how you get successful. Anyway, I just thought I should share it too. People are going to say I've started. It is what it is. It is what it